Mr. Solomon Said, the first track of Knopfler's The Boy EP, released a few months ago in April 2024, is yet another masterpiece from my favorite songwriter. Song lovers out there, you don't want to miss this one out, so make sure to listen to it before embarking on my little podcast here. And in the second part, I'll take you through the whole song, part by part, stem by stem, to see what it's made of. I know this song confuses people because it has 21 parts, which are all different, 3 dozen chords, and changes time signature 3 times. So here's my ultimate guide to Mr. Solomon Said. Longtime viewers and subscribers of this channel might know I'm a lifelong jazz aficionado. My personal Spotify playlist now includes almost 1,000 songs, and I recommend everybody check it out. The link to everything I mention in this episode will be in the description. And jazz is a big part of my playlist and my life. I'm just a sucker for swinging tunes and ballads, always have been, as far as I remember. And of course, I couldn't resist talking about this, probably Mark Knopfler's jazziest song to date, even surpassing titles like Rudiger and Slow Learner by a landslide. This is jazz, my friend. It even features a few choruses of walking bass, courtesy of Glenn Worf, which has been one of my dreams to hear walking bass on Mark's solo album ever since I first heard his music and learned that his band is essentially a jazz band with uilleann pipes and a whistle. He got pretty close to fulfilling this dream for me, with some blues numbers maybe and soundtrack tunes like A Walk in Paris, but I think even the musicians were extra happy to showcase their talents in a song like Mr. Solomon's. Piano comping by Jim Cox's is always legendary, as you'll see in a minute. But just because the song features walking bass and sounds jazzy, it doesn't mean it's automatically added to my collection. That would be criminal misguidance. There's more to this song, and hopefully many of you would agree. Besides, in this supposedly jazz song, Mark has dropped the electric guitar sound that's cleaner than in Sultans or Swing, the unusual choice for a jazz tune, which at first I wouldn't say I liked, but it sounds amazing. So there's always room for experimentation and learning. I'd call it Mark's jazz, but labeling music is not something I'm a big fan of. So let's move on. Like with any art form, the song works on many levels and as a whole, and choosing the right style for the song, the packaging the writer is presenting it to the world, is only one of the million things that a songwriter is dealing with. To me, key factors of why this particular song stands out are how it interacts with the listener, how music in typical Knopfler fashion flows around the words, how you can feel how meticulously written and recorded it is. And I'm going to point out my favorite places in the song, in the demonstration part. Little gems sparkle all over the recording, making each listening experience a pure joy. I remember first seeing the lyrics for Mr. Solomon Said without hearing the song, and I immediately sent it to a friend saying something like, "Look at that may be Mark's biggest song to date. Feels like it's even bigger than Industrial Disease." So many words. And you can tell that behind songs like this lies long weeks, months, and possibly years of writing, scrubbing out weak lines, trying dozens of rhymes and metaphors to convey what the songwriter intended to say. I know for a fact it took Mark 3 months to write Romeo and Juliet, so this man won't stop at anything to produce a fine song. And fine it is. When I heard the song, I thought, yeah, this is the same man who wrote Tunnel of Love and Telegraph Road. And 6 minutes fly by like it's nothing. I only ask for more. At first, I just fell in love with the music. It has this addicting quality about it. How the chords ebb and flow, especially in the beautiful piano intro. I anticipate all these changes, and the band delivers it. And towards the end, it breaks all the expectations when you thought you got it. I love how you almost don't need to look up the lyrics for this song, because the words are so memorable and singable on their own. I basically learned all the words by ear. But of course, the way Mark sings these words is a whole other story. The funniest thing to me is that I don't know anything about who Jack Solomons was. I have nothing to do with the British boxing scene or any boxing or anything British in general. And frankly, I don't understand half of what Mark is singing about. I'll be honest with you. But like in a good movie, say Casablanca, there is always something happening. Not a single second or a frame is wasted. And there are so many great parts in it that the few parts which may not be as good, you can easily forgive. It's not why you love it. And speaking of Casablanca, you don't need to look up the lyrics for As Time Goes By too. And once I start watching it from any point, I can't stop. The true power of song to me was best described at the ending of this brilliant article about the bench scene from the Carousel musical. Quote, even if you didn't know the English language, even if you were from another planet, even you were from the stars, you would know exactly what was happening. And that is the emotional truth and storytelling genius of Rodgers and Hammerstein. This quote can be applied to Mark Knopfler because I've already been talking about his songwriting for nearly a decade, and I can't stop because it's universal and understandable from any part of the world. With that said, my native English-speaking British friends told me the story about Jack Solomons is great, well written and well researched as usual, and the Gossip Calypso song reference is great, but you don't need to fully understand it to enjoy it, which is a sign of a great piece of art. Any art, in my opinion, especially songwriting. Maybe I love this song because it evokes a plethora of musical memories in me. For instance, this cymbalom instrument, which is played in the beginning and many parts of the song until the very end, the one what sounds like a bit like honky-tonk piano on steroids, or a dulcimer. This instrument, or instruments close to it like marxophone, is used in many interesting songs that I loved as a kid, with prime examples like the soundtrack of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button and pieces like Love in Murmansk. Or Henry Mancini's soundtrack for the movie Charade. The Doors used a hammered dulcimer in their version of an old German song known as Alabama Song. Whiskey bar, oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. And so, right off the bat, you can recognize a pattern here. The cymbalom, or instruments close to it, is used in unusual songs, either classical music, plays, operas, soundtracks for movies, or otherwise eclectic songs. And it's featured right here in a new Mark Knopfler song, a jazz song. The fact one can take for granted simply because of how organic and in place it sounds in Mr. Solomon said. Another link to my childhood could be a Russian song about a dog, as sung by a choir of Russian singers-songwriters. It bears some resemblance to the song in question, with its jazzy arrangement, upright bass, chord choices, sentimentality, and memorability. And I'll play a little snippet here so you can understand how it feels to me listening to a song where you can't understand a single word.
О, сладкий миг, когда старик накрутит шар под самый нос и скажет псу: а ну-ка, пес, пойдем во дворик. А во дворе идет снежок и скажет псу: привет, дружок, незлобный дворник, дядя Костя алкоголик.
Anyway, I simply love it when Mark unlocks his Eastern European roots and uses Hungarian instruments, harmonies, chords or key signatures, tiny little bits and pieces from Franz Liszt and others that only the nerdiest of nerds can notice. And of course, the closer this music is to me, geographically speaking, the closer it is to my heart, or so I think. This last passage is indeed extremely subjective. I transcribed the whole song using Guitar Pro 8, which I won't do too often simply because it's incredibly time consuming and frustrating, but that's actually how I developed my ear. Not with an ear training program or something like that, but simply learning and transcribing hundreds of songs, starting with awful, unacceptable results, struggling for years and graduating to this level. Now I'm going to switch to a live tour of the song. I hope you enjoy it. I'll upload the whole thing on the Ultimate Guitar website. And for the love of music, share everything for free as usual, so everybody can learn it and enjoy it on their own. And if you want to see more content like this or want to support me, all the information is on the MK Songbook website and in the description. Thanks. Alright, so let's talk about Mr. Solomon's set. This is my Guitar Pro 8 session. As you can see, I've got here 12 instruments. That's at least what I can hear on the record. Obviously vocals, that would be Mark's part. Backing vocals, I hear more than 2 voices, to be honest. And so I transcribed it like that. It's what I hear, at least. The lead guitar is pretty obvious. Mark's lines. Rhythm guitar is a simple acoustic guitar that I actually transcribed in this way. So it's got this staccato chords playing. I think it makes sense. The tremolo guitar is pretty much the introductory, uses in introduction, these Twin Peaksian lines with tremolo. Acoustic guitar, acoustic piano. I actually incorporated all the cymbalum parts in the piano part as well. So it makes, I think it makes more sense. And the piano part, obviously I'm not a piano player, so it's only my approximation of how I think it could be played. So I'm not a professional, and I think it shows. And piano players might cringe, I think, looking at these fingerings and such. But anyway, it's just my approximation anyway. And cymbalum I approximate with harpsichord here, because I don't know that there is such an instrument in Guitar Pro or everything else. Acoustic bass, that's my favorite instrument, and probably why I wanted to transcribe the whole song in the first place, because double bass is probably my favorite instrument in the world. I just love it. I wish it would be smaller, though, that I would be able to play it in my home. Timpani is another orchestra instrument used primarily in classical music. And you can also hear it on the record, as well as bongos and congas. Also a great percussion instrument. Vibraphone, I also approximated this kind of a keyboardish sound or something. Towards the end of the song you can hear that in a few places, especially in this ending here. That's how I did it. And obviously drums. Yeah, it was a lot of work, but don't worry, no Pavels were hurt. And so with that said, let's start. And the intro starts with this cymbalum playing a harmonic scale, pretty much. as evident by this raised seventh degree, and it's just going up note by note, and it's a great way to start off the song, I think, because I think they tried many other ways, but this harmonic minor E7 chord playing with this unusual instrument, and to start with this instrument is also an amazing idea. It sets up the mood, it sets up everything, I think. And goes into the what's essentially a minor 7 jazz vamp. You can hear this rhythm section here, the bass and drums. A minor to A minor 7 to A minor 7 with E in the bass. Acoustic guitar is playing here. The thing is, I just can't hear what's being played, so I just left it blank. And that's probably the only place in the whole song that I left just blank, because I can't hear a thing. And of course this tremolo guitar sounds really good. It's a really simple part. It's like open 5th string, bend, open 6th, 5th. My favorite place here in the intro is probably this call and response. So this is the bongos part. And this part here in the 7th bar, bongos are playing this, pum pum, and the piano is responding immediately after that. Let's take a listen. Pum pum, pum pum. I think it was played live, but I don't know, it's just so cool. Let's try. Let's listen to that in context. And that's how it sounded in the original. That's something I only discovered when I actually transcribed the song, and I just feel like it's really great. And now starts the verse. The verse is really simple because it's just 3 instruments and a voice. And the piano comping here is extremely simple, so you can hear it. So these are really simple chords and played at the same time with an acoustic guitar. And this 15th bar here is the first time where this extra bar is introduced, because the music flows around the words. So you can see, one day Mr. Solomon said there was a little black cloud over your head, and in this place you can hear it. So in order to fit this extra piece of lyrics, you pretty much need to add this to make 4/4 into 6/4, because that would sound like this without this extra bit. It would be just too sudden of a change, and so that's why this extra bit is necessary to facilitate this line. Over your head. And I just love these chord changes. I already told in the first part how it reminds me of my favorite music, but especially this A minor to A7 is executed perfectly here. And another great line here. It's a really simple line, so it's like a simple chromatic, going chromatically to the open B and some licks here. And this B here is actually played with an acoustic guitar. But I just love how it sounds together. And let's hear it in the original. The second verse, right off the bat, in the second verse, you can hear how piano comping is already getting one step more complex. More voicings, more notes, more chords, and I actually separate it into its own verse just because of this, because it gets more. So compare like something like this to this, and a major 7 chords here. So guitar wise it's pretty much the same. And then the reintroduction of this cymbalum, again playing harmonic minor, and the introduction of acoustic bass again. And like it sounds in the original. Beautiful sound. These cymbalum parts, they actually sparkled all over the recording, and each time this instrument is played, I don't know, it's just ear candy to me. And let's go back here.
My life's the fighting game.
And of course the piano comping on the verse 3, combining basically 2 previous verses. It's got some simple stuff, more of the proper chords here. Rhythm guitar is playing this really simple more like a gypsy jazz comping, I would say. And it's not the best way to visualize it, I think, but you can imagine it's like a downstroke, boom, downstroke, then pa-bum. This upstroke and downstroke, and you get this kind of repeating of the drums, I think. So it's the same kind of pattern, so they double each other. That's the verse number 3. This B minor 7 is a really interesting chord because somebody can probably hear it as B minor 7 flat 5, but it's proper B7, which it sounds unusual here. Especially since in the intro we actually have got a B minor 7. I think it was somewhere in the intro here. So throughout the whole song there are some places where it's as if the band is playing B minor 7 flat 5, but the rhythm guitar is playing B7, but either way it sounds great. An unusual choice. That's the part before the first pre-chorus, as I call it. It's not necessarily pre-chorus. Another cymbalum here.
With Mr. Song.
It's just it's sonically just so amazing. And you can hear here's the bass. And in the pre-chorus the rhythm section is pretty simple, as you can see. It's what it is actually is this kind of a Ray Charles kind of this bluesy, really bluesy vamp, essentially on A minor 7 with some introduction of this D, quick introduction of this D over A just to spice it up a little.
We like the big nights, West End.
Then going to this D9 pretty much again, with Mark playing this great, also a D9 shape, simply D9. And E7, E9. And the chorus is what I hear it as. It's like a simple, again, vamp on between A minor 7 and A minor 6 pretty much. So you can see it especially here. It's on in the acoustic guitar part it's one note difference. So 5th fret goes to 4th fret and continues like that. It's the same thing that happens towards the end of the song here. And A minor 7, A minor 6. Dun, 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 dun. So it's these two chords going back and forth, essentially making it a vamp on A minor 7 going to D7, because A minor 6 could be replaced as D9. and D9 is D7. So and I love the piano playing here. A really bluesy playing here. Even here with the cymbalum, it's still bluesy, and which leads us to walking bass, and here it's introduced in this part. Not only the walking bass, but the backing vocals makes an appearance here. And as you can see here, the lower voice stays in place, but the melody goes up and down. And same thing is happening here. Lower voice in all these instances is staying down, and that's how it sounds in context in the original.
He signed me as a prospect, see, then something let go in my knee.
And these vocals are they actually panned to one side.
He signed me as
So it's like the top voice is on the left side and bottom voice is on the right side. And let's hear the walking bass isolated. And the piano comping is getting more complex, as you can see. So it's keep getting more and more complex. That's I love also about this song, that it's just dramatically really well thought out. And this great whine and drums here I also like. And that's how it sounds in the original. So that's the walking bass.
prospect, see, then clapped out punctuateer like somebody promoting information's
which leads us to the first A minor 6th break. And interestingly, in the vocals here, and by the way, speaking of vocals, I just love how Mark sings this line here: information worth its weight.
Information's worth its weight.
It's just so, I don't know, ear candy. It's how I would describe it. You know, sometimes Mark sings these lines and I just marvel at how it sounds, really, this sonic quality about it.
Worth its weight.
Worth its weight. It's absolutely unreplicable, I think.
I'm the eyes and ears, and it's great.
Amazing work here. And on the first break, as you can see, it starts with nothing. So it starts with a pause and then Mark sings. And also in the bass here, we can see that it's lower here. It's played on the 5th string. So it's like whereas the second break is a little bit different. It's played on the upper register. And also in the second break, Mark sings differently because it starts right on 1 and it's differently structured. Also in the first break, the congos are more prominent. While all the instruments pretty much play this A minor 6. That's one of my favorite parts in the whole song, I think. Another ear candy. Just how it's played with such taste, this line here. And that's how it sounds in the original.
It's gossip.
It just, I don't know, it's another place of the song that I just love. Boom, 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 boom. In complete silence, there's just these drums. And another. I don't know.
Gossip calypso with someone blathering. It's gossip.
I can listen to that all day long, like Gossip Calypso reference here.
Calypso all day long. Who's the money going on? Who's been training wrong? Got hurt or struggling?
Another piece of walking bass here. Let's hear that. And leading all the way up here to the A minor 6. Beautiful stuff. And the drumming on this break is also different. So as you can see here in the first break, it sounds more like in the second break, it sounds more like so it's a different rhythm. That's how it sounds in context.
With a corner man, the one with a sponge and bucket. Maybe got a bottle for a club of doorman.
And here the song transitions to the solo through B minor 7 flat 5. And gotta love this another cymbalum. Let's hear it without vocals. and in the original. I don't know, just amazing. This is the solo played pretty much through the verse structure with some amazing piano comping here. I love this part where piano is playing these Hendrix chords instead of just playing A minor to A7. He's playing this. Which sounds really, really great. Let's hear it in the original. And overall, again, the piano comping is getting more complex each verse. Another appearance of the Hendrix chord here. If you can see how on this level it's pretty much all block chords here, close voicing in the piano. And here another ear candy, one of my favorite parts in the entire song is this line. First of all, the line is great. Behind the pinstripe buttonhole, behind the yellow rose. And here it is. Yellow rose. I just love this D minor 7 here. It's just, I don't know, something about it I just love. And how it stays exactly for the perfect amount of time. And let's hear it in the original.
Behind the pinstripe buttonhole, behind the yellow rose, beats a heart cold.
Oh, man. I think you realized I love this song already. how it transitions perfectly to this 10th verse. Well, I call it 10th verse. It's not exactly 10th verse because there were breaks and stuff like this. And by the way, I completely forgot about the timpani, because as you can see here, it was used in pre-chorus and chorus. Let's hear it in the original.
We like the big nights.
Another great touch. Nothing is bad about this song. And so let's talk about the 10th verse here.
He's got me something.
So the song already breaks down a little bit. It sounds completely different now. This comping, it's more like another. It really reminds me of the older Golden Age tunes. And backing vocals also sing beautifully here. Let's hear it in the original.
He's got me something new. Got me something new.
It's really, these backing vocals, they appear really rarely here, as you can see, for a couple of bars here, and of course in the chorus, and here.
He's got me something new.
But so in place, and how they get out of this, they just add a little bit of vibrato here, and this way it transitions smoothly to the next beat and sounds more more natural. Ooh. I said I'd be happy to. Another cymbalum entrance here. Who writes like that? It's classical music. Now the 11th verse goes completely against the grain here. So it's previously it was D minor, G7, C major, E7, blah blah blah, and here it's now D, G, C7. It's not the first time Mark used something like this, but it works perfectly here. Just to break up the previous pattern that you already got used to, and throw a little 7th chord here, and follow it by this augmented chord on the additional half of bar here. So let's hear it in context. So let's hear the individual. And again, this little vibraphone is exactly on point here. Bass. Let's hear it without vocals. Then some careful bass note moves through A minor with F sharp in the bass. But now this bar here is interesting because Mark is playing something like only 3 notes, but the acoustic guitar part here has this slap, and then the bass, the acoustic bass, has got this, and so you've got all these instruments, and together they sound like. In building up into this complete picture, let's hear it in the original.
There's more to the man.
Again, perfectly constructed, I think. And the verse 12 is probably the craziest of the bunch, because it takes pretty much this concept here, D minor 7 to GVB in the bass to C7, and move it one step higher. So it, instead of D minor 7, you've got, or D minor or D5. I think it's the power chord is more appropriate here.
One day
it's now becomes D minor 11th, then this G added 9th to B to C 9th. And let's hear it on the piano.
more to the man.
So it's completely surprising. So compare it to this, and that was already a little bit surprising, but you double that and you end up with this really complex and rich voicings here, and especially with double bass. And let's hear it in the original.
More to the man than the motto read.
And another idea of this going down with A minor. So it'll be A minor with G in the bass, A minor with F sharp in the bass, F7, E. Like this going down. And with backing vocals also singing. Singing down. In the actual part, it's more like ooh. So it's like this gradual transition, as you can hear.
On the wall above his head, winners win.
Ooh, and ending with this vibrato again to switch smoothly to this line. It's amazing.
Losers make their own arrangements.
And by this point, it's the song almost completed. It's only, and to me, it just fly by like it's nothing. It's so beautifully written, so perfectly recorded, that just time goes by like this, and boom, you're at the end of the song. And the outro is pretty much this: you can bet, Jack, you're never going back. And again, I hear the backing vocals here singing 3 notes. And just because that's an outro, it doesn't mean it lacks some awesome lines. There are some guitar lines. Well, that's the repetition of the some really tasty guitar lines. There's also a interesting piano licks here.
It's never going back to Frying Pan Alley.
And the last appearance of Cymbalom is here. In this kind of a crazy line I can't reproduce exactly, but that's my approximation of it. This interesting kind of a, I don't know, cocktail bar, or I should say something like Midwest bar thing. And the vibraphone part, also beautiful. So this is brief analysis of Mr. Solomon's set, and you can download this Guitar Pro session and play with it, enjoy it. I had ton of enjoyments out of this, even though it's extremely frustrating to transcribe something like this, but the song is so great that it doesn't matter to me. So hope you liked it, hope you enjoyed it, and see you in another Songbook entry.
Thank